at some of the top pharmaceutical companies, and currently he's with one of the leading biotech companies from when it was a near startup and really helping take it to some big places where it is now. So Andrew, great to see you. We've been friends since college. That's been a few years now.
30 years.
And we've seen a lot, done a lot, all good stuff for sure. So for the people who don't know you as well as I do, tell us a little bit about you, and I know you're from South Jersey, and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, no, first, thanks for having me on. Very excited to be part of Moving Mountains and your network and community. It's a really great thing you're doing here, and really thrilled to be part of it today.
Awesome.
So that being said, so background, as you know, like Lance said, known Lance for about 30 years, and I grew up in South Jersey, was born in Philadelphia, lived in South Jersey the bulk of my life, been married 27 years, have 2 grown kids, and went to Rutgers University for undergraduate and grad school, mastered in communication, organizational and behavioral communication, and something that I think will tie into what we talk about today. I've been in the pharmaceutical industry about 30 years, started at 2 very large companies. Took that experience after about 20 years and wanted to do more, wanted to get my hands in things, kind of build and be part of something from the ground up. And I was fortunate enough to join what was a startup about 9 years ago, and has now grown into one of the largest biotechs in the industry. And I've been very fortunate to have held a couple different roles at this company, leveraged that experience from the past, and I've also had some great learnings along the way that hopefully I'll be able to share with the group today, and hopefully pass some things along. In the time at these different companies, been in sales primarily, probably 2/3 of my career, been in sales leadership, been leading sales and different teams for about 25 years. Been in marketing. I've led operations, corporate functions, as well as field-based operational functions, sales and operations, commercial operations, that is, and a bunch of projects. I've helped build teams. I've helped reorganize teams, as well as lead large national and international projects at different companies. So that's a little bit about my background, and like I said, I'm thrilled to be able to maybe share some of the learnings over those 30 years today.
So, well, let's go right into that. I mean, amazing career, and I know you're helping with cancer medications and all kinds of pioneering treatments. But yeah, as you really reflect on those 30 years, what are some of the practical skills that you've identified, and how are you sharing all that forward, passing it forward? Yeah,
and that's a great question. I think also being in the healthcare business, the importance of, first of all, putting patients at the center of everything you do. It also forces you to always do what's right, and also to be really thoughtful about everything you do. It's really important, whether it be your interactions with individuals or in things like compliance and legalities that are tied to healthcare. So that's really important, because I think it also has driven my desire to be very effective at what I do, to always have a really good outcome. And I think some of the skills that have maybe enabled me to do that I think I've developed, and this is going to be cliche, because I think it's kind of like when you say, I wish I knew then what I know now. I could share a lot of different things maybe in that vein, but the one that I'll share today is that I've learned the value, and again, my background, and think of my education and communications, it's something that's always been of interest to me, and how people communicate, is around really approaching your interactions and thinking about what is needed. And getting to the core of like, and this is something salespeople do all the time, but what I've learned is it really applies all the time. Whether it be what we're doing today right here,
teach us.
Or if I'm in a meeting with 12 people, or I'm on stage at a sales meeting with a couple hundred people that I have to present to. And before you get into those interactions, you really think, what is needed? What do I need? What does the person or audience need? And then really refine your approach to meet that need, and don't do too much and not enough. It's really finding that sweet spot about what is needed. And I think applying that appropriately to interactions, especially whether it be with employees or customers, I think if you take that approach and you're thoughtful, you ultimately will get the most out of that interaction. And it's a thoughtful approach versus the old me, like I said, if I knew then what I know now, I'm a high energy guy. I've always been a salesperson at heart. You knew me back in the day in college. I was always known for, I had a lot of energy, and it's been a strength, but it's also can be an extreme and can become a weakness at times. And what I've learned is to harness that energy through this kind of thinking about really, and this is something I learned. I've been very fortunate to have had a lot of development and training over my career. I've had a number of executive coaches. I just finished with one after a year project with her, and we came up with this concept around what is needed, and it was one of the bigger insights I've had because it's enabled me to be a better communicator, especially being back in corporate, where I am now leading corporate functions and departments that I run. Is very different than sales. And you have to approach that type of work differently, just like when I'm in with, say, the C-suite and those individuals. It's about being concise, be brief, be gone, all those types of things. And I think harnessing my energy in a way that is still authentic and it's what people expect from me, but in a better way. And I think I've learned to do that through all the training and the coaching I've had. And I can share one other thing with the group that I think kind of pulls this concept through is around pace and space. You know, it's one thing to say what is needed, but it's another to say, all right, it's kind of, this is what you do in sales. Before you go in with a customer, you say, okay, what's their style? How do they like things? How do they like to be communicated to? Well, it's the same thing here. It's like, what, you know, how much do I want to put out there? How, you know, what am I trying to get done in what period of time? And what pace do I need to take with this person or audience? And the same thing is space. You know, give people space in the conversation. Again, being high energy, you know, it's easy to go in and steamroll. And like I said, a lot of my career effort got me there. But as I've climbed and done different things with more scale and bigger roles, that's not enough. It's more about refining in the how and still doing it with energy, but just in a better way. And giving space is also about asking great questions and listening and being comfortable doing that. And I think those are some of the most practical skills, all kind of laddering up to that idea of what is needed. And it's a simple thing, but it's actually really powerful. And it's something I've shared with, you know, colleagues and people that report to me, and it resonates because I think it enables efficiency and it enables you to be just more effective going into any given interaction.
Well, I love your expertise and passion and focus on communication. And, you know, someone that was a mentor to me talked about, you know, most communication is miscommunication. So much opportunity there, and just being clear is so valuable and critical. So that is also good, and really customizing things, you know, with the pace and space. So I think that's going to be great. And we'll talk more before we finish today about how you're moving all this forward to the future generations so that they can leverage it. But before we do that, I want to get into how you approach the tough times, the challenging times, rock bottom times, because it's not always about the mountains and, you know, all the things you've accomplished, right? It's obviously been, you know, some ups and downs. So include some mindset as well. How do you do it? How have you gotten through the challenges?
No, that's a great question. Again, I think it does come back to communication and to some degree, and I'll hit on that in a minute. First and foremost, you know, for me, look, I hear the whistle every morning. Every day is game day, right? And I believe that. Like I enjoy getting up, tackling, you know, challenges, tasks, maybe problems, as you mentioned. And it's not all peaks. There's valleys, and you have to deal with those things. But for me, I've just always seen opportunity in the challenge. It's kind of how I'm wired, and maybe as a salesperson. Sales isn't easy. Usually there's more obstacles. They're not rolling over and writing checks to you, you know. And so again, maybe it's innately part of how I see things. I just see that, you know, maybe it's the athlete in me as well. I like a challenge. You know, I've always played sports. You know that about me, you know, throughout my life. And so that is my mindset. It's like game day. All right, let's go. It's, you know, I like to win. I also, but it's more than that. And I'll say, I think it's more than that now. Maybe in the early days of my career, it was effort, it was game day, energy, and that was enough. As a new salesperson, maybe even a lower level sales manager. But as I've grown in my career and maybe just gotten older and matured, I think it's about working well with others, when I have a challenge or an issue, it's not about what can I do, can I run through that wall? It's how do I lift others up around me, leverage the resources, skills, and abilities of those around me in order to take on a challenge. And really that value of team and harnessing the powers in the room. I always say that to the teams I work with. Like when you get people together, there's always gonna be a better outcome if you leverage the talents of everybody in the room.
Right.
And so that's how I often will approach a challenge. I think about who can help, who's in my network, who works with me, for me, et cetera, and I like to leverage people. But also, and it's something you and I have talked about, is I also think being a commercial operations person now, and leader, I like to really take a thoughtful approach to challenges and problems too, and really make sure I understand what the problem is, define the problem, create a problem statement, break down the issue and understand what's at play, what are the resources needed, what people are needed, and ultimately what actions make the most sense after I've defined and really understood the problem. Often people will, shoot before they aim, and I believe in measuring a couple times before you cut. And
it's especially with salespeople, I find there's a tendency to want to go straight to action.
Oh yeah, and that was me for a long time, and it's still something that I have to pull myself back. And that's what I worked with my coach on the last year, was around this what is needed. Take that step back, lay things out, really think before you act, and also make sure you're using all your resources and people around you. And just have and again, like I said, I like the game, I like the hustle, I like the challenge. I consider it more, maybe at this point in my career as well, I've seen a lot, done a lot of different things, so I can also lean on experience. That's something I didn't mention. You can look back and think about situations that I've had like this in the past, and maybe think about what we did there, what we did well, maybe also what we didn't do so well.
Sure. So good. Thank you. We're going to take a quick break. Thank our sponsors. Everyone stay tuned. We're going to come back and hear how Andrew, in the midst of some large corporate roles, some of the biggest in the world, stays healthy, avoids burnout. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
There's an old expression.
I love that we both got an awesome network and save money doing it.
I know, $25. I love that it's guaranteed for 3 years.
Hey, we're sitting on a sign here.
Switch and get Welcome Unlimited for $25 a line, guaranteed for 3 years. Verizon.
Hello everyone, I'm Mark Iorio. I'm the host of Rainmakers Roundup right here on RVN TV. The show is about looking for people who are in competitive businesses that are doing something different and unique in the world of sales and marketing. Join me right here on Rainmakers Roundup on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. and then again on Thursday evenings at 6:30 p.m. right here on RVN TV.
Oh, okay. Easy does it.
We switched to Liberty Mutual and saved $652. They customize your car insurance, so you only pay for what you need. With the money we saved, we thought we'd try electric unicycles. Careful, babe. Saving was definitely easier.
Hey, babe, I think I got it. It's actually...
Okay, show off. Oh. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Joanne, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Market news, experts, the economy, investment topics, and much more. I'm Joanne Morgano, and this is Martin Salzman.
And we're financial advisors.
We'll give you the latest happenings on everything that affects your money.
And have a little fun along the way.
We will.
Join us every Thursday and Friday at 6 p.m. on It's Your Money with Joanne and Martin.
Hey, welcome back to Moving Mountains. I'm here today with Andrew Paetow, and we've been talking all things life and business. Thanks for joining us. So let's talk about, you have some high pressure roles, executive level, C-level. How do you avoid burnout, stay healthy in the midst of all that? How much sleep do you get on average?
Yeah, no, important question, and one I'm sure everybody here and in your audience probably struggles with. But first, as I mentioned earlier, I've always been an athlete, been into working out. It's where we first met. In fact, Lance and I met at the College Avenue gym at Rutgers over 30 years ago. I think that's probably the first place we met.
Probably.
And yeah, so it's always been an important thing for me, but making time is certainly hard, especially like my prior role. I mean, I led a sales force and I traveled all over the country and the world at times, and it's difficult, but I've always made time for it. I even think what I'm talking about, especially in the last few years, being more efficient and more thoughtful in everything I do day to day frees up time to then devote to other things, physically and mentally. I sleep 6 to 8 hours a night typically. At least I go to bed for 6 to 8 hours a night, toss and turn like most people sometimes. But I eat well. I'm fortunate that I have a wife that's really into eating well and fitness and that type of thing as well. So that's been a nice thing. It's part of our household, which is a lifestyle for us. And then working out 4 or 5 times a week typically, have a gym in the house. When I'm in hotels, I always make a point, get up first thing in the morning, hit the gym. And I've been doing a lot more walking, moved actually to the Jersey Shore 2 years ago. Partly part of our goal there was to live a more active lifestyle. And being around the water and just the environment down there, tend to walk more and things like that. So that's been good as well. And I mean, and just, just
how do you create the boundaries and the barriers with work, and especially during the pandemic, did such a trend to just sort of always be on and sort of expected? How did that work in your world, in the corporate world?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's definitely hard. Again, you got to be disciplined, make the time, make it a priority. In fact, this year, something I'm working on in kind of a coaching environment that I'm going to have this year for my development. It's really health, relationships, and career, starting with health. Making sure that that's always your health is number one. It's got to be. And, physically and mentally, and then everything else will flourish from there, including your relationships and your career. So you got to make time. You got to be disciplined, but equally, just making it okay for me, and also even others. I mean, I kind of talk to my employees about it as well. Like, you got work-life balance is a real thing, and it's in small bits every day of how you approach, whether, like I said, your interactions and how efficient you are to free up time to then create balance for yourself to do other things. And like for me, like I said, in the last few years, I think I've been better about it. There were years where work just dominated everything, and it wasn't healthy. And I've seen what that can do. And maybe as I've gotten older, that's also been some of the insights I've had about, maybe this point in my life where I look now and I say, my priorities are certainly have shifted. And I also have the, maybe the time and means to maybe make those decisions, which has been nice, because maybe when I was younger and still kind of growing and up and coming, it was high pressure and high stakes to get to maybe where I am now. And now I'm at the point where I don't want to lose this opportunity either in this stage of my life. So I've made it more of a priority.
So I think we could all benefit from doing it younger. So with all the skills and lessons you've learned and experience, what are you most excited about going forward? And some of those tools and patterns that you've identified. I know you have some specific thoughts and plans on teaching that and helping have some impact.
A couple things I'm excited about. So it's a great question. Being a coach and leader most of my career, sales leader, trainer, corporate leader, trainer, all those other things. I really look forward to sharing kind of these insights with others, and I do that regularly now, whether it be people that report to me or in opportunities where I speak to groups and things like that at work, and even with my children and friends that I can share kind of these learnings with. Just like I'm talking to you about this concept of what is needed and how to really assess each and every interaction. I wish I knew that 30 years ago. And I'm trying to maybe help others that are still growing in their careers. And it's probably the most rewarding thing I do now at work is to help grow and develop the people that I work with and who maybe work for me. So I look forward to that. It's great to see others learn from maybe either your experience or mistakes, however you want to look at it. The second thing is, I think for the things I've shared with you, what a lot of this has done for me has given me a lot of freedom in my mindset. I'm more balanced in the way I'm approaching, whether it be career or relationships or challenges, to then have kind of the brain space and the energy to devote to some other things. and start thinking differently, which is important at this stage of my life. I want to, make the most of, this next chapter. And I think it's definitely, I'm excited about the freedom to maybe start and to explore some things that maybe I didn't have time or the mind space to do in the past.
Yeah.
Whether it be, different investing type opportunities. I talked to you about wanting to get into real estate, and even down the road, maybe as I, evolve my career, getting into some kind of coaching and consulting type work.
Well, you're already
in
doing
the future.
a great job coaching and consulting people.
Yeah, so those are the things I'm most excited about. And I would say, I'd be really remiss to not say, look, all of the things I've talked about relative to work and those learnings, most importantly, and it's something I talk about with my wife a lot, Meg, who you know, is how I apply these things at home with pass this along to my children who are, working adults and are now looking to find their way.
Yeah.
And then also, just, improving my own relationships through these learnings is really important to me.
Yeah, so good. Love it all. So if you could bottle up, boil down, give a snapshot of some of your greatest insights to all the listeners and people that want to climb the highest peaks and have big success, what would it be?
Yeah, God, that's a big question.
Yeah.
I'll maybe give you just my own simple version of that.
Yeah.
Maybe what we talked about today is, number one, I would say to people, take advantage of the opportunities and the resources around you to develop, learn from others, and take that and then really look at yourself. Because what I've shared with you today around the whole idea of what is needed in pace and space, you gotta be honest, that was my entire life. The feedback I've received has been around those things. Even though, again, having a master's in communications, I'm still not the best communicator.
Of course.
And I think at the end of the day, it's been a lifelong journey for me to get to this point.
Sure.
And so I think, I think the most important takeaway is really learn from others, take advantage of the development opportunities, and then have a look at yourself to really, think about what in this most simplest way are the things that would help me improve as a person. And then I think the key skills or takeaways that we talked about today is, and again, it sounds like such a simple thing, but really applying that concept of like whether you're having a conversation like this, like I said, a meeting, big group, whatever it is, what's needed?
Right.
How much do I need to give? How much energy do I need to give? And how much energy do I need to take from the other? And really understand each role in that, not always be necessarily the driver.
Yeah.
And I think that's been hopefully something I've shared today is really taking that approach to then free up your mind and your own energy to do other things versus being all in all the time on everything.
Yeah, I think we could all benefit from some communication skill and practice, right? We're all works in progress. So you're humble with your communication skills. How can people who want to follow you, find out more about you, your organizations?
Yeah, well, first email
projects?
paetow35@gmail.com.
Okay.
I am happy to connect and network with anybody listening.
Paetow?
Paetow35@gmail.com. And then I'm on LinkedIn. You can hit me up on LinkedIn anytime. And that's probably the easiest way to find me.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for sharing your journey and all your wisdom and expertise and passion around communication. That's a rare area that I find. It's just so needed and valuable. So thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure.
And everybody, thank you for tuning in. And please tune in again next week for our next episode of Moving Mountains.